Hello and welcome to the Legacy Crusaders YouTube channel. This is Benji, and today I'm bringing you some Orcust combos. Were posted on the Orchestra Duelist Facebook group by Peter Tui, and he says to credit a Prince Shiv for the main workings of how these combos function. So let's see what we can do. Phantom Knight of Torn Scale. And a discard, the basic board should be Dragoon with Rusty Bardiche on board, with Dingirsu in the graveyard, with Orcust Nightmare and Skeleton, as well as Girsu in the graveyard, and that gives you the ability to rank up into True King of All Calamities, and you get to get a free warrior into your hand as well because there is a Isolde warrior engine in the deck. So I'll run through the plays. We're going to start off by normal summoning Phantom Knight of Torn Scale. Got to get used to not reading its name on the dueling book replay. We'll discard a card and we will send to the graveyard our Ancient Cloak. We're going to use Ancient Cloak to search for a Silent Boots so that we can special it and go into Cherubini. So we'll special summon Silent Boots, go into Cherubini, and then Cherubini will be milling. Actually, we're going to activate Silent Boots to search for Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine, which will trigger the effect of Torn Scales in the graveyard to summon itself. So now we got a free warrior. So this is something new that you didn't used to be able to do with the previous setups. And we're going to go into Isolde. And we're actually going to add a free warrior to our hand. It could be anything. If there's a card you want to try and discard off of your Dragoon later, you might want to add that instead. Perhaps you'll add another Phantom Knight card so you can do another search on another turn. We're going to grab Kagemucha Knight. And in this case, we're going to use Isolde to send one equipment spell. In this case specifically, we're sending Durendal to summon Infernoble Knight Renaud to the field. And Renaud, when it's special summoned, will add back an equipment spell from the graveyard. So if you have an extender, you would actually send Smoke Grenade to the Thief, which you can do on either your turn or your opponent's turn, depending on the type of hand we have. So in this case, we're going to be using the Durendal because we're going to get an additional extender. So we're actually going to use Durendal to search for Fireflint Lady, which is just another extender. It doesn't really matter what it is, it's just something we could special summon. So any card that would have substituted for that would have allowed you to get a Smoke Grenade, which you can trigger using Rusty Bardiche's effect. So we're going to go into Linkaribo, and then we're going to use Cherubini to mill our Symbol Skeleton. So Symbol Skeleton, in addition to milling our Nightmare later, is going to let us kind of simulate having like a Harpar, which is pretty cool. We're going to make our Isolde into a Link Cross and summon 2 tokens. Then we're going to use our Link Cross and our Linkaribo to go into a Union Carrier. Tribute one of our tokens to bring back our Linkaribo, and then attach Orcust Nightmare to our either, it doesn't really matter which one you attach it to, but either the Linkaribo or your Cherubini. Then you're going to link those into a Rusty Bardiche. At this point, you can already activate Rusty Bardiche to set the Phantom Knight's rank up spell from the deck. And usually the only remaining unused Phantom Knight is a Ragged Gloves, which is good to send just because we actually don't... it gives you the freedom to choose which Phantom Knight you set up in your grave on the following turn. So it has that as a use. And if you actually discard another Phantom Knight's monster as your initial discard when you start the combo with Torn Scales, you can actually use the Ragged Gloves to send a trap card and bring it back from the graveyard to be that extender that I mentioned before. So we're going to use Nightmare to send our Girsu, which we can bring back with the Skeleton that was milled off the Cherubini, and the Girsu can send the Wand from the deck to the graveyard. Next we're going to bring back the Skeleton using the effect of World Wand, and we will link the Fireflint Lady, or whatever our extender was, with our Symbol Skeleton into a Galatea, shuffling back the World Wand to set our Orchestrated Babel. This is going to allow us to summon back our Dingirsu on our opponent's turn. We're going to overlay our Dingirsu and attach our Orcust Nightmare to the Ding, and link it with the Girsu into a Verte Anaconda. And then we can activate Verte Anaconda, sending Red Eyes Fusion, resolving it to summon Dragoon. And there is our end board. We have a Dragoon on board, and we have Verte Anaconda sitting here. We have Union Carrier, Rusty Bardiche, the rank up spell, a level 1 token, which you can actually use for the Linkaribo that's still in the graveyard. Your graveyard set up with a live Nightmare, a live Symbol Skeleton, and you can either summon off of your Symbol Skeleton the Galatea, the Dingirsu, or the Girsu, depending on what your opponent is doing. Odds are you're going to go into your main phase and you're just going to summon back the Dingirsu, and then activate the rank up spell to go into Calamities and prevent your opponent from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, the only thing we could have done to improve this board is that the Verte Anaconda should have moved over to be next to the Union Carrier, because it does point to the right, allowing you to get a pop off of the Rusty Bardiche. That way you can summon the Ding, activate Ding's effect to attach a card, and also activate Rusty, but use Rusty as Chainlink 1 to target to destroy a card on your field you don't care about, most likely the Union Carrier. Then Ding will attach the Symbol Skeleton again, and then it will detach it when it protects the Union Carrier from destruction. And on a resolution, you can activate Rank Up Magic Launch. And that way you're set up to bring your Ding Girsu back to the field on the follow-up to attack your opponent for game after they can't play through Calamities. So let's take a look at some other options. There are some combos that let you get to different board states, and this is probably the simplest and the most realistic one to use. This was a shared combo in the Orcust Duelist Facebook group, so I will share some additional combos. So the following is a combo that gives you an additional bonus should you have opened Orcust Nightmare as your discard for your Torn Scales. So most of the combo is going to be very similar to how it was before. I'm going to start with Torn Scales, discarding Nightmare to send Ancient Cloak so that you can search for Silent Boots. I'm going to summon Silent Boots and then go into Cherubini. Going to activate Cherubini to mill your Orcust Symbol Skeleton, banishing your Silent Boots to add your Shade Brigandine, using the effect of Torn Scale to summon itself, and then summoning your Shade Brigandine. So you might not want to play Impermanence in this deck in case you wind up going second and need to do the combo and don't want to have trap cards in your graveyard. You'll then link the Torn Scales and the Shade Brigandine into Isolde, which will then add a warrior that you may want to discard later. We'll summon the Renaud and sending Durendal so that we can add an extender to our hand, in this case Fireflint Lady. So we're going to add Fireflint Lady, and special we're going to go into Linkuriboh. We're going to special the, well, it would be done in the other order. We're going to special the Fireflint Lady and then go into Linkuriboh. Going to link off the Linkuriboh and the Cherubini into the Rusty Bardiche. And going to use Bardiche to mill the Silent Boots and set the rank up spell. Going to go into Link Cross. And we are going to link into a Verte Anaconda at this point, bringing back the Linkuriboh, which we are going to use to set up our Orcust part of the combo, using Nightmare to send the Wand, and then using the Wand to bring back the Nightmare, linking into a Galatea. Going to activate the Galatea, shuffling back the World Wand to set a Crescendo, because we're going to keep the Galatea on the board at the end of the combo. Going to overlay for Ding Girsu and activate the effect of Rusty to pop a card, and then having Ding Girsu protect itself from the destruction. And then we're going to revive the Galatea. So this board will be similar, but not exactly the same as the previous board. So by having the Nightmare, we get to have a live counter trap with the Galatea on the board, as well as being able to summon the Calamities on our own turn. Because we could do that prior to activating the effect of... well, we're going to summon it on our opponent's turn because it was set by the effect of Rusty Bardiche. But sometimes you can actually open the rank up spell, and because we actually have Ding Girsu with no materials at this point, we would be able to summon on our turn if we happen to open the rank up spell. And the other thing is, because we're getting Crescendo, we actually don't have Babel, so we wouldn't be able to summon the Ding on our opponent's turn anyway. So this board gives you some more options for protection. A lot of these boards lose to Super Poly, which is nothing you can really do about, although you could also lose very heavily to most hand traps if you don't have the right extenders at the right times. Let's see if some of the other bonus boards you can make with this deck. Alright, so the following version of the combo can be done if you open an extra copy of Tear Scales, or at least a Phantom Knight card that you can risk bringing back to the board at the end of the turn. So not one that you need to resolve the rest of the combo, but it is helpful. So let's go into it. So we're going to start off with Torn Scales and activate its effect, sending the Ancient Cloak, nothing new. Banishing Ancient Cloak to search for Silent Boots. Going to special summon Silent Boots and link into Cherubini, Ebon Angel of the Burning Abyss, activating its effect to mill the Symbol Skeleton. Activating Silent Boots to add Shade Brigandine and triggering the effect of Torn Scales. Going to summon Shade Brigandine and link into Isolde. Activating Isolde's effect to add a warrior that we're willing to get rid of from our deck to our hand. Going to summon Renaud and send the Smoke Grenade of the Thief to the graveyard, and then add that back to our hands with the effect of Renaud. And we're going to link into a Linkuriboh and make a Link Cross. Summoning 2 tokens, we're going to link into a Union Carrier, activating the Linkuriboh, attributing one of the tokens, and attaching a Nightmare to our Linkuriboh, and linking our Cherubini and Linkuriboh into a Rusty Bardiche, which will then send the Ragged Gloves and set the Phantom Knight's rank up magic launch. Using Nightmare, we're going to send our Gearsuit to the graveyard, which we can revive with our Skeleton, which can send our World Wand. We are then going to activate World Wand and revive Skeleton, and link into Galatea. We're going to activate Galatea, sending back the wand to set the Orcust Babel. We are going to go into Dingirsu, and we will attach the Nightmare, while at the same time popping our Smoke Grenade so we take a card out of our opponent's hand. Then we will activate Ragged Gloves to send a Fog Blade or one of the other Phantom Knight trap cards if you choose to play them, to revive our extra tier scales that we have from before. And we will link away into a Verte Anaconda, and we will bring out Dragoon. And the Skeleton that we brought back off the wand before will still be in the graveyard, meaning we can still do the rank up into Calamities on our opponent's turn. We also have the zone open next to our Verte Anaconda, which is where Rusty points, so we can potentially even set up to either have the Ding be live in the graveyard for the following turn, as well as being able to use Rusty to pop a card on our opponent's field. And additionally, nice little bonus, we have the Link Karibo in the graveyard that we can bring back. Oh, we also have Nightmare. So we have Nightmare and we have Symbol Skeleton. And all of that just off of just opening with another Phantom Knight card that was discardable to do the combo. There are a few variations of the combo if you don't open Torn Scales. In this case, this is a version of the combo that uses 2 level 3s. It will probably be missing some pieces of the board. Let's see what happens. We're going to start by just summoning 2 level 3s and going into Cherubini. Going to activate Cherubini, sending Graph in this case because we are lacking extenders. Going to link into our Rusty Bardiche, and we're going to use Seer to, which was brought out off of Graph, to revive our Cherubini. Going to send Ancient Cloak to set our Shade Brigandine, and then banish Ancient Cloak to search for Silent Boots. Then we will summon the Shade Brigandine and summon the Silent Boots and go into Isolde, because we still haven't locked ourselves into Darks yet because we've not accessed the Orcust engine. Going to summon Renaud from the deck, sending the Smoke Grenade, adding Smoke Grenade back to hand, and then we are going to link into Link Haribo, make a Link Cross, summoning 2 tokens, linking into a Barricade board blocker and bringing back the Link Haribo. In this case, we can't make our Shade. Normally we would use Link Haribo and the Cherubini to make the Rusty Bardiche after using a Union Carrier, but in this case we already have Rusty Bardiche, so there's nothing to go into. So now we're going to use Barricade board blocker, Link Haribo, and the Cherubini to go into Curious, the Lightsworn Dominion, and activate Curious to mill Orcust Nightmare, and then we will mill 3 and pray to God we do not mill anything that is too important. So the cards that were milled in this case aren't going to impact the combo. We're just going to continue the combo as if they did not matter. We weren't going to use Crescendo in this particular combo anyway. I'm going to activate Nightmare and sending Wand to the graveyard. I'm going to activate Wand to revive Orcust Nightmare and go into Galatea. I'm going to summon Galatea and activate its effect, putting Wand in the deck to activate to set Babel and then activate it. I'm going to summon Dingirsu and activate Rusty to destroy a card and protect it. Then we're going to search the rank off spell off of the Silent Boots, which is still in the graveyard. We're going to activate our Smoke Grenade, targeting either the token or the Rusty Bardiche, and setting the rank up spell so that we can rank up on our opponent's turn. So that we're doing this on our opponent's turn so that we can resolve the Smoke Grenade by summoning Calamities to a zone that Rusty points to and then destroying the Smoke Grenade. But that would require us to make it all the way to our opponent's main phase. So another option is, because we search the rank up spell to our hand, we actually could just summon Calamities on our turn to ensure that we don't lose to MST, because if your opponent MSTs either your Babel or your rank up magic prior to the main phase, you won't be able to make it into Calamities. So that is something to consider. So it's, do you want to take a card out of your opponent's hand, or do you want to rank up safely? So you have to make a choice. The following combo is having 2 level 3s, where one of them is Graph, so this can also be done off of just having Tour Guide in hand. So let's go through the plays. We're going to normal summon the Graph and special summon our extender that doesn't kill itself. And we're going to use Cherubini and use Graph to summon the Seer, which lets us use our Cherubini on the Symbol Skeleton. We're going to go into Rusty Bardiche and use the Seer to revive the Cherubini. So it's essentially the same play as last time, except we have an additional extender. So we're going to send the Ancient Cloak to set the Shade Brigandine, and then use Ancient Cloak to search for Silent Boots. Link the Silent Boots and the Shade Brigandine into Isolde, using Isolde to add a warrior to hand. We'll then activate the Silent Boots to add the rank up magic to our hand, using Isolde to summon the Renaud to our field, and adding a Smoke Grenade to our hand. Going to link into Link Haribo, going into Link Cross again. We are making our play into Curious, but in this case we will only be summoning one token. Oh, we're actually going to go into Union Carrier, going to put Nightmare on our board, and we're going to link into Verte Anaconda. Going to activate Nightmare, sending the Girsu, allowing Girsu to send our wand to the graveyard, and then it's going to bring back our Symbol Skeleton so we can go into Galatea. Galatea will shuffle back Nightmare in this case. We have our Symbol Skeleton in graveyard, which is all we really need. Activating the Babel, we will overlay into Dingirsu, activating the effect of our Rusty Bardiche to pop a card, and then protecting our card with our Dingirsu so it has no material, so we can rank it up. And then we are going to activate Verte Anaconda to summon Dragoon. We'll activate Smoke Grenade, targeting a monster we control that isn't the Dingirsu. Because if we target the Dingirsu and we rank it up into Calamities, the equipment spell will destroy itself by game mechanics, not a card effect, and you won't get to take a card out of your opponent's hand. And we can rank up on our opponent's turn. The following combo is the One Warrior combo, which requires you to have a discard because you are going to be summoning your Torn Scales out of the deck off of Isolde. So we're going to be starting with Isolde. So if you have more cards in hand, obviously you can use your Aqua Dolphin or whatever your... if you have an Aqua Dolphin, you can use its effect to try and look at your opponent's hand and snipe some hand traps. But in this case, we are going to just... we need to have a card to... Well, I guess we can do that. And we'll search a discard, because we get a free card off of the Isolde anyway, so we're just going to add our Ragged Gloves and we'll discard that. So we're going to send our 3 equipment spells, in this case going to be Durendal, Living Fossil, and Smoke Grenade to summon Torn Scales from the deck. Activate Torn Scales, discarding a card that we search off of Isolde, or just a card in our hand that we would prefer to get discard. To send Ancient Cloak, going to banish Ancient Cloak and search Silent Boots, summon the Silent Boots, and then we're going to link into Cherubini, which will then send the Symbol Skeleton to the graveyard. We'll banish the Silent Boots, which will allow us to bring back our Torn Scales, and we've added our Rank Up Magic to hand. Going to link into Union Carrier using a 2 Warriors, which is Isolde, and our Torn Scales, activating the Union Carrier, targeting our Cherubini, which we will then link into Link Cross, which will allow us to get Nightmare into the graveyard. And at this point we will send our Girsu and revive it with our Symbol Skeleton, and then use that to send Wand. And then we will link into Galatea. Galatea will shuffle back Nightmare to set the Babel, and then we'll activate that. We'll activate Wand to revive the Symbol Skeleton. We will overlay for Dingirsu, attaching our World Wand, and then we will link off into Verte Anaconda and summon Dragoon. So off of 2 Warriors, you at the very least get access to Dragoon, plus the Calamities on your opponent's turn. The following are a set of combos I'm not a big fan of, because they take a shot at potentially milling a free Orcust card, but at the same time risk milling your Dragoon setup. So I'm going to include it because it was included in the packet of replays supplied on the Orcust Facebook group. So I'm just going to run through what those combos are. Personally, again, not a fan because they are unnecessarily risky. So the combos are for the most part the same. Everything always usually starts with us going into Cherubini off of Boots and Torn Scales. So the difference that we are going to have here is that we are not going to send... we're going to send Graf to summon Seer, and we're going to make Dante. So Dante is a warrior, so it's going to allow us to make our plays anyway. Now we should activate Brigandine at this point so that we don't mill a trap card. But we also could potentially mill lots of other things we don't want to mill, but we are shooting for a Orcust card. In this case, we're just going to be able to do our combo as normal. So we're going to link the Brigandine, which is a dark monster, with our Cherubini into a Rusty Bardiche. Going to set the rank up spell, and we will use the Ragged Gloves we sent to set the rank up spell to send a Fog Blade, and then use that to bring back the Torn Scale, which was not banished earlier, but we're just going to summon it. It's going to get banished when we link it off now with the Dante into Isolde. We'll add a Warrior to our hand, and we will use our Dante to add our Seer back to hand, and Seer will revive the Cherubini. And now we're pretty much in a setup that we would have used for like any other combo. It's just that we risked potentially milling a Orcust card to get some bonuses out of it, but I'll just run through the rest of this and let you see where we end, because otherwise this is just like the same combo you would have done with just this is the combo you would normally do with just Scales and I forget which combo it kind of mirrors, but you get the rank up spell, the Calamities on your opponent's turn with the Smoke Grenade, with the Nightmare in Graveyard. But again, we took a risk at missing a lot of things. So now we're going to look at the version of the combo should we mill the Nightmare off of the Dante. Again, these are not plays I recommend. They're only included for completeness. So we are going to, in this case, go into Dante instead of Isolde. Milling, we are going to put Nightmare in the graveyard to symbolize what would happen. So because Nightmare is in graveyard, we no longer have to mill, so we can actually, we were able to use the Dante to add back the Seer, and the Seer to summon back the Dante instead of the Cherubini, which is still on the board, to make a Beatrice. So the big difference in this play is you get to make a Beatrice in addition to everything else that's going to go onto the board. But most of the combo will be mostly normal, as we have been doing so far, so I'm not going to continue to describe the combo. So we're going to get, in the end, we will get Dragoon, as well as the Dingirsu, the rank up spell on the field, as well as we will have Smoke Grenade for our opponent's turn, as well as Nightmare in Graveyard. So if you care enough to have a Beatrice, then milling a Nightmare allows you to have your Beatrice. And this is the last variation of the combo where you actually mill one of the other Orcust cards off of the Torn Scales. So I'll just play this out up until we get to where Dante mills to see where the difference is. So because we milled Girsu, we're going to be able to progress as normal for the most part. Using, in a lot of combos we have the Ragged Gloves in graveyard and no real use for it, but because the Torn Scale is still underneath of the Dante, we can still use it later. So we're going to bring the Torn Scales back and then link into Isolde. And in this case we are going to add our Kagemusha Knight, and then Seer is going to come back to hand, and we'll summon our Cherubini, summoning Renaud and adding the Smoke Grenade to our hand, and then linking into Linkuriboh, going into Linkross, summoning 2 tokens, going into a Barricade Board blocker, bringing back Linkuriboh and linking into Curious. Then the Curious can mill the Nightmare when we get a shot at milling additional Orcust cards. If you do mill the additional Orcust card, I think you get to have the Crescendo and Galatea on board, but that is relying on 2 random mill. That's relying on 2 random mills, so we're going to assume we only go with the 1 random mill. So we're going to have Nightmare send the Symbol Skeleton, which will revive the Girsu that we milled before. And then we will send Wand, and Wand can revive the Nightmare. We'll link into Galatea. Shuffle back the Wand, set the Babel. Overlay for Dingirsu to pop to attach the Symbol Skeleton, at the same time using Rusty to pop the Smoke Grenade, and then linking into Verte Anaconda and summoning Dragoon. So we have the Symbol Skeleton in the graveyard to revive the Calamities on our opponent's turn, and we've already seen their hand. So that's pretty much all the combos that can be done in this deck. Now, this is not my deck list, so I hope you guys got something out of this video. I'm going to share like a variation of the deck. So this is just all the cards that appeared in the deck, plus a few additional hand traps. It is a 60-card deck, but obviously you can build it however you need to, but if you needed to see a deck list, this is essentially good enough to do everything that this deck can do. And I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will see you next time.